Okay, this is Dr. Bob again, and I am here at the unfortunately named Garden of the Gods at their visitor center. And here they have an exhibit that explains this uniformitarian idea of the evolution of the earth itself. Unfortunately, like many, it communicates that as a series of foregone conclusions or facts, rather than as the theory that it is. But what's a more important lesson for us to discuss here is how do we confront these type of situations. In Peter, he gives us a roadmap. He tells us to be prepared always to offer a defense. So we should know what the truth is. And so as we look at this, realize that there are a number of assumptions that have been made that have led them to the conclusion that this is millions or billions of years. But those are simply that, assumptions. Secondly, when he says to be prepared to offer a defense, we have to be informed with the knowledge of what the geology and what the biology actually describes, and not what someone's conclusions from it are. So when we look at the sand sediments, to look what really is the age of these sediments. How do the individual grains of sand tell us about their origin and their makeup in the sedimentary deposits? When we look at the biology, do we have any indication of species to species evolution, or do we instead see examples of adaptation? So those are all things that are important when it says we should be prepared to offer this defense. But the next part is perhaps even the most significant part, and that is to be prepared to offer a defense for the hope that is within us. That tells us a lot about the environment that we would be in when the opportunity comes to share the truth of the Bible's accuracy regarding the origins of man and the origin of the earth. So when we talk about being prepared to offer a defense for the hope that is in us, we need to recognize that people are going to see this hope exhibited in us, this hope in Christ. That's going to lead them to have a desire to know more about it. So are we living in such a way that people want that kind of hope, that kind of joy that comes from a relationship and an understanding of Jesus Christ? So rather than being about the rocks and the plants and the animals, it really is about the hope that is in us in Jesus Christ as the creator of everything and why that matters. So he talks about be prepared to offer defense for the hope that is in us and to do it with gentleness and with kindness. So that gives us the last piece. It should never be a confrontational thing. We know people who they have never met a discussion or an argument they aren't willing to take. And so this is just one more opportunity for us to avoid those kind of confrontational situations and instead to witness by our actions the hope that is in us. And through that hope and that joy that they see in Christ, they want to know more, and we can explain to them the relationship between a hope in Christ and a knowledge and understanding of who he is as the creator of the world. So this is directly tied to that. Now it's also interesting that Paul, when he wrote in his letter to the Romans, he warned us that there would be those who would come into the world, and what they would offer is the opportunity as a result of their ungodliness, he says, and their unrighteousness, that God in essence would withdraw from them and they would begin to worship the creation, not the creator. So that's another thing we need to be conscious of as we're looking at this. Does this represent a worship of the creation in absence of the creator, or in replacement of the creator? And to recognize that as we turn our attention to the creator, to Christ himself, that people will recognize that hope and that joy that's in us and have a desire to know, and we then should be prepared to offer that explanation, that information, but never to seek out confrontation or conflict as a way to do that. So here they present this as being foregone conclusion, in fact, when in fact these are theories of men, just as Paul warned us would come in the last days. So once again, this is Dr. Bob from the Garden of Gods Visitor Center in Colorado.